People are having withdrawal symptoms due to the fact that they can no longer play Diablo 4. We have such a good thing that Blizzard developers are hearing us and looking at the very same posts as we are, and they have announced that they're going to be releasing additional beta for us to play.
Today, though, we have a ton to talk about.
The different difficulties and the Capstone dungeons is how you unlock those and then get access to all that endgame stuff. So I think we have some footage to show while Joe, you want to talk us?
Yeah, let's talk about this. So yeah, I guess the first thing I want to talk about here is when players are going through the base game experience, they're finishing the campaign, they reach level 50, they get to move into their first world tier content, which is the Nightmare tier. But before they gain access to that, they actually are going to have to go through what we call one of our end cap dungeons. These are longer and more challenging dungeon spaces that have big like boss encounters mixed throughout. They kind of serve as like milestones your players are expected to pass in order to gain access to that next world tier. Now, Rhykker, when you were playing, you had a chance to actually check out your first end cap dungeon, at least as part of this test. Like, what was your experience playing through this?
Yeah, so the first end cap dungeon, all right. I was one of those guys who was saying veteran difficulty is too easy, crank it up. So end cap dungeon, I think the first one, it's recommended level 50. I was level 45, thought I was a hotshot, went in there. It was a humbling experience. That's how I discovered that, yeah, if you die enough times, you got to go back to town to repair your gear. So
he's saying everything so lightly. The fact that he's been paid to participate in this interview doesn't really clarify the things or say that the things are good, bad, or something. Since he's being paid to participate in this live stream, I think he's gonna leave out a lot of information for us.
Hardcore players beware. I had to learn like boss mechanics, study, adjust my build, and eventually put my tail between my legs, go power up a bit more before trying it again. But then conquering it felt like a really great achievement. Very satisfying.
Yeah, these aren't really spaces we expect players to want to go and like try to farm and try to get a lot of things out of. It's more, these are milestones, gates for players to pass or to gain access to that Nightmare tier. Once the players actually get into this next world tier 3, they're going to get access to a few new features. We're going to talk about a number of them today. So you'll start to see that areas of the world are going to be affected by the Helltide system. You're going to get access to Nightmare dungeons. You're going to start to see unique items begin to drop in different parts of the game. And then you're going to start to see sacred and ancestral items also begin to appear in World Tiers 3, and then particularly in 4. And also, in addition to those things, the world, of course, is becoming more dangerous as the players step into Nightmare and Torment tiers, World Tiers 3 and 4 respectively. Monsters can do more damage. They are going to be more aggressive. There's a number of changes. Joe, do you have any thoughts on like some of the changes that we made to monsters in World Tiers?
Yeah. You know, one of the things I love about the Capstone dungeons functioning as unlocks for the World Tiers is that you've got this the general gameplay loop of getting more powerful, optimizing your build, getting more gear, and then you have something that you're testing yourself against. And then when you defeat that, you move into this entirely new world tier with all of the additional like systems and mechanics and features that unlock. So you're really moving into a place where new stuff is happening. You're unlocking new cool stuff.
Yeah, enemies are more aggressive, they're more accurate, they're faster, they're moving more quickly. You start to deal with champion creatures, which are just more powerful minions that can show up in your elites and be affected in certain ways.
More damage, more health. Yeah, I know how difficulty works. But I was starting to feel, oh, the world just seems more hostile, more aggressive. And that's when I realized, oh, there's a lot more at play in the increased difficulty here than just bigger numbers, which is nice.
There's one more thing I want to talk about with regards to World Tiers as well.
Nice.
I'm very excited about this talk in general. I've been waiting to have a lot of these conversations and with the audience, they can kind of convey some of the more interesting depth and complexities associated with some of the systems. So in World Tiers, you gain access to two new sets of itemization tiers. In World Tier 3, you gain access to sacred items that may appear for you. And then World Tier 4, you gain access to ancestral items that can be dropped for players as they're going through those spaces. Now, with the players leveling up from 1 to 50, the items that you're getting from monsters that you're killing are going to be, the power is going to be based on their strength and level. So if you are, you're playing in the beta and you're killing level, 35 monsters for whatever reason, and you're going to be getting slightly more powerful gear as a result of that because the monsters are more challenging and they're going to be dropping better gear for you. But once you have reached level 50, and that basically that flow means that as you're leveling up and you're fighting more challenging things, you're going to continue to like slowly upgrade all of your gear over time. You'll find a ring here, and a helmet there, a pair of gloves. That's great. That's how we want you to kind of like get exposed to itemization systems as you're progressing through initially in the game. But once you get into World Tier 3, things change a little bit. So items that drop you have a chance to be sacred. Not every item in World Tier 3 is sacred by default. The higher the level of the creature that you're fighting, the more likely the chances that items dropped from that creature will be sacred in nature, or also based on the kind of content you're completing.
Like in any other game, like another Diablo series. Where's the catch?
But sacred items, when they drop at a very large range in terms of the power that they can have. So you could get into World Tier 3, you could kill a pack of elites in your first dungeon in World Tier 3 at level 50. And you can get an item out of that group. Maybe it's a rare item that drops up from that group that is powerful enough that could serve a level 70 character. So the sacred item tier basically is going to have gear in it that goes from level 50 all the way up to level 70 in terms of like the power swing there. Once you get a little bit higher, it's a little more likely to get slightly higher in the range, but it's very likely you can get those really, really great drops really early, which we think is super exciting because we want you to be trying to like always be looking for like just the right ring, and it could show up like your best in slot ring for that for a sacred tier might show up at level 51, and that might be the one that you want to hold on to for the entirety of that tier.
And
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
you're talking about
Nice.
when you're talking about these sacred items, the level requirement for this ring, for example, is not 70, right?
No. So the level, that's a great point, Joe. So the level requirement for this is actually to be set at the level at which you actually loot the item. So once again, we have trading in the game. If you are level 50 and you get a really, really great ring drop, that's going to be good for not quite your build, but like maybe you're playing a bleed barbarian. This is really, really good for like a berserk build or like a big fury build. And you say, okay, I want to give this to you. can hold on to it. That could be a really valuable item to trade because it could be that its eye power is such that it's like really good for a level 70 character, but the required level for the ring itself is level 50 because you got it at level 50. And that's going to raise with the course of time. We think that's going to be super fun for players to chase. And there's more of that as you get into the ancestral tier, but that's not all. I think the next thing we're talking about is actually legendary and unique items.
All right.
Legendary items in general are attached to like legendary powers. And these legendary powers, or reverse, legendary powers attached to legendary items. Legendary powers basically are designed to appear on multiple different slots. So, an aspect might appear on an amulet, but it might also appear on gloves, or it might appear on ring, or it might also appear on weapons. These things have a tendency to be in a lot of different places based on the power itself. And we like this because it lets players like extract aspects and powers from items and put them into other items that meet these certain criteria. It's fun because we want players to go and be chasing certain fantasies. It helps them kind of like hone in on certain kinds of builds and gets them excited about the potential of like kind of taking all these different Legos and kind of putting them together. Can I say Legos on stream? Yes.
Legendaries, yeah.
Legendaries is what I'm talking about. So once you get all of these legendaries together and you put them together, that's gonna be really, really fun. So that's part of the fantasy we think of legendary items. Did you actually get a chance when you're going through 1 to 50? There's only a certain number of these that are actually available. But when you get into World Tiers 3 and 4, more legendary powers are available. Did you get a chance to see any like new legendary powers as you were playing?
Oh yeah, I mean, I definitely got to see a variety of legendary powers. I got a certain number of drops. Drop rates didn't feel out of control, but you guys gave me some pre-made characters as well that were decked out with builds, and I saw lots of cool synergistic powers that came together to really make a build flow well. And I think my favorite power was probably on actually a unique item, and it was for the druid that made your werewolf form your true form. So I know a lot of people have been saying, hey, can I just be a werewolf all the time?
Yep.
Yes, you can.
Oh, that's
cool. That's the next step, right?
Nice.
So unique items. So unique items only begin to appear when players enter the nightmare tier. So once you're in World Tier 3, there's a low chance that some of the game's unique items will begin to appear for players as they're progressing through this experience, and they're very, very rare. These
so we have Shaco.
are huge chase items and opportunities there. Some of them are really important for build making. Some open up a whole different build paths and opportunities for players to go and pursue. These are things that are designed to be really exciting, like what you suggest there when you had that experience trying to gather the werewolf. The ability to stay in werewolf form effectively forever with that druid unique. Really, really cool stuff. And there's more of these unlocked over the course of your level progression as well.
I think I saw Shaco earlier there in the list of unique items.
That's correct. Shaco does make a return, and there's lots of opportunities for us to basically kind of pay homage to items that came in previous versions of Diablo, previous entries in the series. You'll see a number of different items make returns. Items like Grandfather, Shaco, obviously. You'll see a few familiar, and then a few familiar favorites, and then more over the course of the game's live development.
Also, this is a good way for people to kind of see the new font changes and so forth that based off the beta learnings that that we actually ended up posting last
Yeah,
week.
yeah, we'll get more into the beta learnings later in the live stream. We'll go over them in a lot more depth. But yeah, absolutely, the font was a great example. I mean, I think we added at least 20% more serifs to the.
Oh yeah, yeah.
More serifs.
Significantly more serif, yeah.
But no, seriously, people pointed out that the font, while highly readable, and we spent a lot of time thinking about, how the game is going to display on all kinds of different screens, different aspect ratios, TVs, right? And so we want the font to be highly readable in all of those situations.
That's cool. That's great.
But it didn't feel as much like Diablo as it could have, and so we went back and looked for a font that was still highly readable, but had more of a Diablo thing. And it's just a great example of players pointing something out and us being able to react to it.
Nice. That's great.
What's the next thing we want to talk about, Rhykker? What do you think?
Well, so we have all these legendary items. One semi-deterministic way to farm for them, Helltide. It's an activity where, well, I guess you can dive into how exactly you can target farm.
The guy on the left, close to me here, right? This guy is just looking at the script and just thinking like, hey, okay, we are on the Helltide part. Okay, we have like 7 more parts to go, and then I can go on a break or something. This guy is just solely focused on just everyone focusing focusing on the script. I don't know, it's crazy.
Specific item slots to hunt for specific unique items, and it's going to be one of the main endgame activities that we'll be partaking in, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So as I mentioned before, once the player gains access to Nightmare Torment here, they are going to Nightmare tier. They're going to start seeing some of these new activities. One of them, which is Helltide. Helltide is basically going to be the situation where you're running in through the world of Sanctuary. The sky turns red, blood begins to fall from the sky, new monsters begin to appear. Everything is more challenging. New events are going to start showing up, and importantly, as you're killing creatures when you're within one of these Helltide areas, you're going to be getting what we call cinders. It's this new currency players will be able to collect while they're specifically within these spaces. And this is great because you get to take these cinders, and as you're wandering through the overworld, you might be running near other players. You might be helping them do events together. Everyone's getting their own cinders as they go. You'll be looking for these Helltide caches you can see here. And these are great. To your point about being able to target farm for certain kinds of items. So every one of the caches in the Helltide zone is actually tied to an item slot. And they all have different costs. So you look kind of like you'll be gathering cinders by playing within this space,
Kill a certain amount of monsters, that gives you a certain amount of points, and then you can exchange those points in your ability to open up a chest. Good.
trying to locate one of the caches that have the item type that you're looking for, whether maybe you're looking for an amulet or looking for a ring. Maybe you're looking for a Shaco. So you're looking actually to go find a helmet cache. You want to keep trying to go after the helmet cache and the rare, desperate hope that you're going to get exactly the unique item that you're looking for, right? That's cool. We want to give you some of that opportunity.
It is
that
cool.
opportunity
Nice.
to target farm a little bit. But there's actually a little bit of fun there too. So one of the things that's one of my personal favorite parts of the Helltide system is the idea that the players there's an extra set of stakes, right? When the player's running around with these cinders, they have the chance if they die, they're going to lose about half of their cinders every time they fall. And they don't drop on the ground; they're gone. So you have to be very careful about when you're looking to overextend as part of the combat experience in order to farm more cinders, get to the cache that you're looking for, whatever that is. You are putting yourself at more risk the more you try to gather, and the greedier you get, the more likely it is that you're going to lose things.
Okay,
That's right, and there's
that's nice.
time limit on Helltide too, right?
That's right. Helltide is only active, the Force of Hell only arrive for about an hour during when they are actually active.
It's plenty
And
of
different
time.
areas of Sanctuary are picked for Helltide Zone each time it rotates and moves around. So you need to make.
Whoa, that's cool. It's similar to Terror Zone. Amazing, I like that.
Good use of your power, and if you leave a Helltide Zone, those cinders are gone. You have to spend them. So if you see that the clock is ticking down, you're getting 5 or 4 or 3 minutes.
Clock is ticking down. What are they speaking about? It's an hour.
Away from the end of the Helltide, you gotta find yourself a cache to kind
You can go to grocery shop, come back, and they're still gonna be there. You can just go there, make some dinner for yourself, and Helltide's still gonna be there. How long do you expect people to just clear the map? 1 hour. In 1 hour, you can do so much in a game, in every game. Why the clock is so big?
of deposit those things.
Yeah, absolutely. My experience, I first jumped into a Helltide event with, I think, 23 minutes left on the clock. So I start by, okay, I'm scouting.
Oh, so there's like a okay. So you're not starting as you're entering. It's just rotation. Okay, I
Putting out
understand.
the different chests or caches to see, okay, which is the one that has the slot that I'm looking for, what are the different costs, and then I'm doing some quick math. Okay, I'm gathering cinders at about this rate per minute, I have this many minutes left. Okay, I think I could afford the most expensive, the weapon slot, and I got to backtrack to that place in order to get there. And then I died. And I'm like, okay, recalculating.
Yeah.
Okay, how much time do I have left now? And okay,
GPS
so quickly. Yeah. And then I died again. And like, better luck next time. Well, another hour before the next one comes around, I'll have a better plan this time.
Now, granted,
Wow,
you can still
nice.
get legendary items dropped.
That is nice. That's nice. Cool.
You can still get really good drops inside Helltide experiences while you're killing monsters. So it's not like if you lose those cinders, you've lost all opportunities for rewards.
Yeah.
But obviously, it does take a little wind out of your sails if you just happen to get jumped at the wrong time. Again, another great opportunity for there to be players nearby when they're trying to help out in those situations.
Yeah, you know, one of the things I think is really cool about this is that these chests
Man, I just hope they're not gonna reveal everything ahead of time.
or caches, boxes with loot and awesome loot inside,
Mm.
right? You know, each time a Helltide appears, they're in different locations,
That's
right?
right.
So you have to go and find them, you know, as Rhykker was saying.
Like
But
terror zones.
for the duration of that Helltide, they're in fixed places. So, you know, when you go into the Helltide area, it's useful to scout out and see where the caches are for the item spots that you're interested in. And then you can, you know, mentally remember, okay, here I want to farm around here. I'm going to come back here. I'm going to get this item or whatever. And one thing I want to call out here, you know, you saw one of the caches on the screen earlier, you know, in some of our video that we captured for it. And we did capture that with the UI off, so you can't see the icon above it, but there is an icon that says, in here there are boots.
That's correct,
So you
yeah.
will know before you open that cache what's in it.
And I mean, that's not all. I mean, there's other risks and dangers inherent in Helltide areas. You know, this is an opportunity for you to fight some different bosses. Again, like I mentioned before, there are different events and things that actually are going to be showing up. And of course, we can't really have such a wonderful experience as Helltide without our baby boy, the Butcher, showing up occasionally and causing serious
Okay.
mayhem and mischief in the overworld of Sanctuary. So lots of really fun things happen inside these Helltide areas over the course of the player's experience.
And it's also an opportunity to farm a special crafting material, right?
That's correct. There are craft materials like Fiend Rose and things that really are coming directly from Helltide encounters and those experiences. So you are looking to also get some of the materials you need for like really high tier like weapon and item upgrades from going through these places.
So Helltide is what we're doing to farm crafting materials in order to target farm specific drops. Another big activity that we're going to be doing, Nightmare Dungeons. You want to talk a bit about that?
Yeah. So yeah, Joe,
It do feel like so heavy scripted.
do you have anything you want to talk about for Nightmare Dungeons
so,
first?
you know, Nightmare Dungeons are, we're going to talk, again, we're going to talk about beta feedback.
So this is like Path of Exile maps.
Nightmare Dungeons are our key dungeon replayability system for the later part of the game, right? And you're going to get sigils, and Joe's going to talk a little bit about the sigils, but we're really excited for players to get to check out all of the cool ways that the dungeons can really be transformed by the Nightmare Dungeon system.
Yes. So first up, Nightmare Dungeons, very, very exciting system. Players haven't had a chance to play these in our betas yet, but as they get into the end game content, start going through World Tiers 3 and 4, you'll begin to see, you'll gain access to some of your first sigils, which are primarily initially
That's nice.
earned by completing Whispers of the Dead, one of our other overworld content features that players will be able to engage with. Now, sigils are really interesting in that they are tied to a level when you find them, which is going to affect the level of the monsters inside that space. They have various afflictions, which we've talked a little bit about in streams in the past. These are going to modify the way that level rolls out. But Nightmare Sigils, when they are activated, after you collect one, is going to basically open up a portal near an existing side dungeon. And in the pre-release version of Diablo 4 and additional seasons, we basically select a subset of all of the side dungeons of the game that can become Nightmare Dungeons for that period. So players become more familiar with a set number of these because they know that they can be populated with these Nightmare Dungeon experiences. So you might already know, whether it's Annex Claim or whatever it is, what the layout of a given dungeon might look like normally. But Nightmare Sigil is going to change that by introducing these new afflictions and then also these greater afflictions. We showed earlier in the video, like this. Right now, actually, we're looking at this hell portal, nightmare portal that can open up and basically spawn in all these monsters from other monster families. It might not be native to that dungeon, which is pretty cool in that we like the idea that players are going to have to kind of deal with these
that
new
is cool,
different
yeah.
threats than what they're typically used to as part of that encounter. And there's a number of these other like greater afflictions, like we showed the Stormbane's Wrath, that like that disc thing that was flowing around around you, and occasionally it just pulses out this really big, stunning, damaging effect. So you have to be mindful of where it is. You should make sure you avoid it as part of the combat experience. Definitely adds a new wrinkle to gameplay as you're going through. And we add more of these afflictions as the player continues to level up and they get to go deeper and deeper into the Nightmare Sigil system, unlocking higher level sigils and dealing with like more and more dangerous threats over the course of time. And this is a really great place, not only just to like earn experience and really push your build and make sure that you're strong enough to tackle these sorts of challenges, but you'll also be able to. These are really great places to farm for like sacred and ancestral items in particular, and these are the places that you're going to be upgrading your Paragon Glyphs. We'll be talking more about the Paragon system right now. So, and that like this is an opportunity to show the actual upgrade glyph screen. I just noticed like, hey, look, it's actually up right now. What timing? So yeah, when the player reaches the end of a nightmare dungeon, they get to basically go ahead and take one of the glyphs they've been collecting over the course of their 50+ experience, and basically slot it into here and choose to upgrade it and make that glyph even more powerful. These socketables will go into your Paragon board and end up being some of the single most powerful modifiers you can apply to your character, above legendary powers, and even in some cases, even above some unique powers. So it's really in your benefit, based on your build, to be choosing, looking for a set number of these and upgrade them to exactly what you need them to do.
And the so the sigils that we're getting, what I noticed is that if you get some afflictions that you don't particularly care about, we have the ability to salvage some in order to craft sigils of our own, right? I think it's a 4-to-1 ratio, is that right?
Yeah, just about. So you'll be able to get a lot of these different sigils by going through Nightmare Dungeons, completing Whispers, and through other content. And if you're finding sigils that you don't really want or don't really want to run, because maybe we're going to have like enemies inside are going to do additional lightning damage, but you don't have a lot of lightning resist on your build. Maybe you want to go ahead and like salvage that.
Wait, is it recording? It is. Good.
Back at the Occultist. Take that down to its sigil dust and use that to basically make new random sigils for you to go ahead and run with. This is ways for players to kind of like, push themselves a little further. They'll unlock higher level sigils they can craft through the system over the course of time. And it's another way to kind of like reutilize some of the sigils you might not be as interested in running from time to time.
Yeah, one thing I liked about the afflictions was it was making me make choices during the gameplay. Like two that I can speak to, the nightmare gates that we were just showcasing. Let's say I'm in the middle of fighting an elite and I'm almost taking him down. I see that nightmare portal opening and I'm like, okay, should I take care of that before it starts spawning more monsters, or do I finish this fight first? I'm forced to make a decision, and I gotta live with the consequences if I think, maybe I should take him down, and then no, the fight becomes more challenging, and nope, I should have taken care of that gate first. Another one is, I forget the name, but it's some kind of blood cyst that starts to grow, and then if you just don't touch it, it eventually explodes in a huge area.
Yeah.
And it's either, okay, destroy it before it does that, or get the heck away as fast as possible. Again, making choices, and it's like, okay, I think I thought I had time to get away, then I got crowd controlled, and then boom, one shot. So I like how it changes the dungeon experience depending on which of these afflictions that you get.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's death counts in some of these as well. As time goes on, you get into the deeper ones. Where you gotta be careful. You can't choose to just throw yourselves at these things, and if you're making mistakes, you have to really evaluate carefully how you're progressing. Yeah.
Sure. That's true.
So yeah, you got a chance to play through some of those. So yeah, Nightmare Dungeon is very exciting, and they'll go up beyond level 100 as well. Actually, so this is a content type that you can actually fight up to creatures up to level 150. Actually, as part of the experience, based on how far you're able to push yourself as time goes on. So really excited about how far players can go with that.
All right, now you're talking about Glyphs and the Paragon system, so let's talk more about those Paragon boards.
Oh, let's do it. Okay, Paragon boards. So we've talked a bit about Paragon in the past. We've shown pictures of the board just like this, and we've shown you things like, hey, look, like here's normal node, and this is the way that you're going to earn like 5 willpower. But that's not all this board is about. There's a lot of other complexity and things to deal with in here. So there are basically 4 types of nodes to kind of like quickly reprise some of this information. The first, of course, is normal nodes. Then we have what you show here is magic nodes. These are different affixes that you can collect over the course of time. Usually they're like a little bit more difficult to find a direct like version of on items. So like something like this, for example, crackling energy damage. So there's so that's a sorceress, so like a lightning spec sorceress ability, or passive effectively, where she'll occasionally be crackling out damage to nearby targets. You can now boost that by finding this particular magic node, which kind of might eventually unlock other builds for you to kind of go and chase after. But then there are rare nodes, which is on the next slide. And here, okay, so there's some information here. Rare nodes have a pretty powerful
my
effect right off the
God.
bat. You know, but then on top of that, there's a bonus effect down below that you can sort of see.
That's
where
nice.
on this one it is another 60% damage to elites if you reach a certain amount of dexterity for your character.
That's
So
nice.
the point here is that, like, rare nodes on their own, of which there's about 10 or more per board. Rare nodes are already pretty powerful generically. But then on top of that, if you were able to hit these thresholds for the stat requirements for these rare nodes, that is going to make them very, very potent for you indeed. And when you're looking at the board, these are some of the most critical things you'd be thinking about when you're plotting your path through each board. Which of course, there are a number of boards available for you at launch. And then when you'll be able to rotate them, you'll have to choose how you want to progress through rare nodes, whether you want to engage with the legendary nodes or not. This is a really important thing.
Yeah.
One other bit about this, just because it's easy for me to forget about, is that when you're going from Paragon board to Paragon board, like in the first board, this might be the cost. But then when you're looking at the second board that you're progressing through, those requirements are actually going to go up. So it's not in your interest to go like run from board to board, just unlock as many of these as you can directly through that way. You need to spend a little bit of time into the board and pick the ones that you really want, because the next board that you unlock to get more rare nodes of different types, those will be a little more expensive to unlock those bonus effects.
The thing I think is really interesting about these is when the way that I look at the board, right? When I open a Paragon board, the first thing I do is go and look at the nearest rare nodes to me, to where I'm starting, right? And then I look at the requirements for those bonuses, and then I start looking at the normal nodes on the way. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'm pretty close to the dexterity required here through my gear. Are there some dexterity nodes that I could hit on the way here that would take me over it? And how much do I care about that particular bonus? And then I'm comparing it to the other ones, and I'm thinking about that. So the normal nodes actually become sort of a path that you're trying to take to turn on these bonuses.
Obviously.
Absolutely. And that's not all. There's one more node type as well, and then we're going to get back to normal nodes in just a second. So then we have our legendary nodes. So every one of the boards for each of the classes has a legendary node somewhere on it. And these are really, really powerful powers like you'd expect. They are a legendary power, effectively unique to the Paragon board system for that class and for whatever that particular board is trying to convey as its overall build type. So these are really, really powerful things to go and collect, but they're actually not the most powerful thing. This is just an additional extra powerful affix you can kind of apply to your character, but you kind of do this in concert with
very good
other things that you're looking for. Like,
the reason why I'm saying it very good, because you would not be focusing your build and your playstyle around legendary node. I like that.
Mentioned the rare nodes. And I also talked before about glyphs, and we're going to talk about that next. So when you basically, as you're going through the board, there are going to be these sockets that you can unlock, and the sockets are going to be sitting adjacent to a number of other regular nodes. Now, the way that glyphs work is that you're going to put them into one of these sockets, and they are going to be affecting nearby nodes and also fueled by other nearby nodes. So if you hit certain thresholds inside some of the glyphs, you're also going to unlock powerful bonuses. They're going to always also affect nearby nodes at the same time. And as I mentioned before, glyphs can be leveled up pretty high. They continue to grow the radius of the affected nodes as you level up through certain tiers. They can affect larger and larger areas.
I like that.
And the boards are not symmetrical in nature as you're progressing through. Because the player can rotate their board and choose which gate they actually want to enter from, you have to like kind of choose from board to board where are the sockets on this board. Are they near the stats I really want for this glyph? Because this glyph is going to be fueled by dexterity nodes within range of the glyph effect. And it's going to do additional critical strike damage, or whatever it's going to do for me as a result. That's a really, really important choice to make. And because all of the boards have different configurations, different socket locations, and different things near those sockets, you have a lot of interesting decisions to make about where you actually want to invest your time. And how does it matter? How does it feel to do this relative to the rare nodes you might need on that board from a different board instead? Fun decisions for players to make as they're going through. We want ultimately to feel like the Paragon board system allows for two incinerate, focus, burn type sorceresses to feel like they've got very different paths through the Paragon board, different decisions to make, even if all of their skill choices are identical.
Oh,
yeah, it's something that we
that's
talk
nice.
about a lot with the
I like this.
That
This is by far the first and the most important developer update video that I've seen. Hopefully this is the last, and hopefully this is going to be the last one. So far, this is amazing.
even if you have, let's say Incinerate is a powerful sorcerer build and you want to play Incinerate, you're not going to necessarily be the same, have exactly the same loadout as another Incinerate sorcerer.
That's right.
One thing I found really cool about the Paragon system that I didn't realize at first is that every Paragon board is almost like a Paragon class, like a specialization class, where it's all built around a certain theme, fantasy, playstyle, and it all revolves around that central or off-central legendary node, and then the rares kind of support that same theme, and it extends to the blues. So like on a Necromancer, like, oh, this board is like the pure summoner fantasy, and this one is the Blood Mage. And looking at it that way really like made it very cool for me to be able to explore. Okay, you know, I can merge these two together. I'm going to go like Bone and Blood, and just further, explore and dive into that specialization.
Yeah. No, there's 220 Paragon points that players will be able to have by the time they finish leveling up their character at level 100. We want those choices to feel like they've got meaning individually. Players can respect the number of those choices if they want for gold cost. We want to be able to play with this system and be able to like kind of experiment with different ideas as they go. But importantly, we want them to feel like that the choices they made for the 220 matter a great deal to their overall performance.
Nice.
And you folks took in that feedback, digested it, and transformed it into actionable change in the game. You want to talk to some of the things that were changed?
Q&A session. Make sure to click video here. Let's go.